Welcome everybody. This is our 20th webinar in our talk series. And we have for you today Dr. Sangeeta Balaprakash, who you've met twice before. And she'll be taking on the subject Ayurveda Wellness, Food, Sleep and Lifestyle. And this is the third in her series. So she's going to be talking to us about the third webinar, which is Live Long, Live Healthy. Key to health and wellness is your digestion and the food and lifestyle choices you make. Get some practical tips and insights on food, lifestyle, and sleep that suits your dosha type. So last week we had discussed our dosha types, and I hope you all have figured out your dosha types. You may be a mix. Am I right, doctor?
Yeah.
A mix of the doshas, but you usually have one prominent dosha, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have a dual type also. So you might be having the qualities of both Vata, Pitta equally. So
All right.
We can have any kind of combinations.
All right. Okay. So listen carefully. And if you figured out your dosha type, then please listen and you will know what kind of food, your sleep habits, and what lifestyle, what's a good lifestyle for you. We'll have 45 minutes of talk followed by 15 minutes of question and answer. And please put all your questions on the chat and Dr. Sangeeta will answer all of those questions for you. You will all be muted through the talk. And so we'll get on with the program. Thank you so much, Dr. Sangeeta, for being here. And over to you.
Thank you, Binaji. It's my pleasure. Before I start with this talk, I will go through a few slides from the last session. So I'll start sharing the screen here. So we go through the doshas here. Vata dosha, the word itself means movement. So all movement is governed by Vata. So Vata is the combination, or you can say the energy that is actually ether and air element. So both ether or space and air is present in our body as Vata. So Vata is governs all the movement. And movement here can be your breathing or intestinal movement, elimination, nerve impulse, nutritional intake, and even our thoughts. So these are the movements. It can be voluntary and involuntary movements. Voluntary, it can be walking or running or talking. And all the involuntary movements, it could be your heartbeat, the movement of the heart or the lungs. So these are governed by Vata dosha. And then the next energy or the dosha is Pitta. So Pitta is fire and water element. So fire and water together is present in our body as digestive juice or enzymes and hormones. So Pitta is the energy of transformation. It processes the food and transforms it into energy. It also processes the information that we take in through our senses and mind and transforms it into knowledge. So that is the function of Pitta. Pitta also governs the functions of our blood, production of sweat, urine, and waste, and it is also it governs the production of even thirst. So if how much you're thirsty, it also maintains our body temperature. So that is the main function of Pitta, digestion and metabolism. And then we go to the next dosha, and that is Kapha. Kapha, the word itself means to bind together. So it governs structure and stability. It also maintains or lubricates our body. It maintains the fluid balance, and it also governs our immunity and reproductive function. So that is the main function of Kapha dosha, provides stability of the body and mind. So if you have these, the main important thing is to understand these three energies, what they do in our body. So we have all the three energies, And our goal should be to balance all the three. And the doshas, when they are in balance, that gives us health and wellness. To understand further, you need to understand the attributes of the doshas. So we have gone through this slide in the last session, the qualities of the Vata dosha. So Vata, just you have to think about the air and space element. Air is light and it is mobile. So everything that moves can become dry and irregular and unstable. And air is also fast. And it is cold, unstable, subtle, flexible, and rough. So these qualities you have to keep in mind, and then you can understand its manifestation in our body, in our physiology, and also its importance in the pathology. So we have gone through these qualities when we try to understand our basic dosha type. So these qualities are important in our imbalances and balance. So for example, if you see these qualities, if it increases, then it will manifest as an imbalance. And how to balance is that we have to choose the opposite. The main tenet of Ayurveda is like increases like and opposites balance. So that principle you have to keep in mind. So I go to the next slide. Here is what are the signs if your Vata is balanced. So Vata, air and space, when these elements are balanced, then we have good flow. Vata is the life force. You know, the essence of Vata we call is prana. So when we have good prana or Vata is balanced, then all the movement in our body is in perfect harmony. The life force will flow without any hindrance. We have good elimination, and that means by stool, urine, and sweat, and also easy flow of breath. So there is no hindrance in the flow of breath. Your breathing will be very smooth. You have good circulation. That could be the blood circulation or the nutrients. The flow of nutrients is good. The intake of nutrients is also in perfect balance. And you have good sleep. In the mind, the balanced Vata will manifest as mental clarity. If you think about space element, space is open. So the mind will be more open, there will be more clarity, and there will be lots of ideas, inspiration, creativity. And you see, we always say an open mind is a happy mind. So Vata dosha also governs your enthusiasm and joy. So that's the sign of balanced Vata dosha. Now what happens if your Vata is imbalanced? So what are the signs of imbalanced Vata? So first of all, you need to understand what does it mean by imbalance. So the Vata dosha, when it increases, then only it has the power to manifest as an imbalance. Increases means all the attributes of the Vata that I showed you in the previous slide, that is the light quality, cold quality, mobile quality, these qualities will increase and manifest as imbalance. So the imbalance, as I said in the first session, it always starts from the digestive system. That's the main location. So we need to understand where the Vata is located. So the energy is present everywhere, but the main site of imbalance is the colon or the large intestine. So we see in the initial stage of imbalance, in the early stage, the Vata dosha manifests as an imbalance in our digestion. So what happens when Vata increases? Vata is irregular. So our digestion becomes irregular. Our digestive fire becomes irregular. And irregular fire means in Sanskrit we call it Vishamagni. Vishama Agni. Agni becomes Vishama. That means it varies. So you can have hunger, like sometimes you're very hungry, sometimes you don't feel any hunger. Sometimes you can digest the food properly and sometimes you can't digest the food. You might be eating the same food. So, and at different times, the digestion can be different. So your digestion varies, and similarly, your bowel movement. sometimes you have constipation, sometimes diarrhea. So it could be loose stool, it could be hard stool. And predominantly you can have constipation. And why you have constipation? Because Vata is dry in nature. So the dryness increases in our body, and you have less fluid, and that makes the stool very dry, and it is also light. So the bulk of the stool becomes also very less. And Vata is air element. So it's very obvious that you feel very bloated. You have a lot of air in you. So you feel bloated, you feel constipated, and also you can have pain in the stomach. So you can have like gurgling sound, or you just feel bloated. And this imbalance, if it is not taken care of in this initial stage, it can move or get into the circulation, and it can give more imbalances. And then what happens is the bones or the joints, the skeletal system has an affinity for the Vata energy. So what happens then? The pain starts. You can feel the dryness in the joints. Your joints can feel like cracking and popping, or you can have pain. And that also it moves because Vata is mobile. So that quality manifests in the pathology also. So the pain will be moving. So sometimes you feel like your shoulders are hurting, or sometimes it's the elbows or the knees. And it can come and go. That's because of the unstable quality of the Vata. And then it can also affect our breathing. So because it affects all the movement. So breathing can become very labored. So you can feel like you have some very heavy weight on your chest. You can't breathe properly. And for example, if you're running, if you run, you get like asthma. So that also is because of this Vata imbalance. And it can also manifest in the mind. The most important imbalance you can initially experience is lack of sleep. So you will have loss of sleep. It will affect. Why? Because Vata is very light. It's difficult for the mind, Vata mind, to feel grounded. And light quality manifests more in you. So what happened is, when Vata increases, this light quality and unstable Vata, or the unstable quality of the air element increases. And that will manifest in your mind as fear, worry, anxiety, nervousness, restlessness. So you see how these lighter emotions, when you have this anxiety and worry, it's like you are up in the air. You don't feel grounded. So these are the light emotions that you can experience with excess Vata. And restlessness, you will have difficulty to feel grounded, to relax also, and also to focus. So you will lose concentration. Your mind will run here and there. You will have lots of thoughts. Your mind becomes chaotic with this excess Vata. And your memory also gets poor. You have, because you see, it's space element. So nothing stays there. You take in any information, it doesn't stick to the mind or in the brain. You can just feel spaced out. So you can grasp information, but you forget very easily. So forgetfulness comes because of this excess Vata. So these are all few of the imbalances of Vata dosha. So what is how your Vata gets imbalanced? So there is always a cause. So cause of Vata imbalance. So if you remember again the attributes of Vata dosha, Vata air is light, cold, and dry. So that means if you eat too much of light food, cold and dry food. So what are light and cold food? It's like salads, or dry, like it could be chips, a lot of chips, or dry bread. Here in Sweden, you get a lot of dry bread. And aerated drinks, like all these colas and Sprites. So all these aerated drinks, soda water, this has only air in it. It's so cold and airy. So that will increase your Vata. And also, so the food is mostly dry, cold, and airy food. And it could be beans. And see, all the beans are very dry, and it has astringent taste. And coffee is also very drying, and it is astringent and bitter. So the taste that is mostly bitter, astringent, and spicy, like pungent. So these three tastes you should avoid because this can cause vata imbalance. Because spicy food is also very drying. And then is when you go through the like senses, if your senses are overloaded, that can cause a vata imbalance. Too much of sensory impressions. So if your mind is constantly engaged into outer environment, you take in lots of information, your vata can get disturbed. And especially for vata, because it is connected to the space element. If you think of space, it is the main attribute of space is sound. So vata person are very sensitive to sound. So loud sound, when you're exposed constantly to loud noise, that can also imbalance your vata. And then late nights. Late nights is one of the cause of vata imbalance because late nights increases dryness. So it's very important, you need to understand why you can have a vata imbalance, because in Ayurveda we say the first treatment is to avoid the cause. So that's why it's so important that you need to identify the cause of your imbalance. And also traveling. So see, vata is mobile. So if you move a lot, if you talk a lot, your vata will increase. So traveling is one of the causes of excessive traveling is one of the causes of vata imbalance. And also childbirth, after delivery, all the women can have vata imbalance. Their vata increases after childbirth. And of course, last but not the least is the stress. So if you're stressed, your vata is the first dosha that gets imbalanced, because vata is very subtle and sensitive. For vata, it's easy to get into imbalance and easy to correct the imbalance also. And one of the important cause of imbalance is irregular routine. Because vata is irregular, if you have irregular routines, you can end up in vata imbalance. And also grief, sudden loss of your loved ones, for example, can create a lot of void, and that is space. So that also is one of the causes of vata imbalance. So how to restore balance, vata balance? So the first important thing is avoid the cause. So whatever you have, the cause of that can contribute to vata increase, you need to avoid. And the other good advice is you need to have good routine. Good routines are important, ideal, healthy routine. And you need to eat and drink warm. Warm should be your mantra. Whatever you keep yourself warm, you eat and drink warm. And avoid cold and raw salads. Avoid dry and spicy food. Avoid late nights. Massage with warm sesame oil. So that's really good. We call it Abhyanga in Ayurveda. So Abhyanga is really good for a Vata person. Or you can just do it every day, like daily Abhyanga is good. Massaging your whole body with warm sesame oil. I'll go back to the food here. So when I said avoid cold and raw food, it's also important you need to understand is Vata needs grounding and nourishing food. So warm, grounding and nourishing, what could it be? Warm could be like nourishing food can be like your soups or stews, porridge. So this consistency is really good. In Ayurveda, we call it snigdha. So snigdha food or unctuous food is really good. And also you can favor sweet, sour and salt taste for Vata dosha. So these are the three tastes that is more grounding. Sweet, for example, has earth and water element. So it's more dominant in water and earth element. So that's why that taste. It could be just rice. So when I talk about sweet, it doesn't mean it should be sugar. It could be good sugar like jaggery, or it could be just rice and potatoes. It's also good. Potatoes, of course, can create some gas, but like sweet potatoes is very grounding. So you can choose that kind of food. And milk products are heavy and it is grounding, so that is also good. And you can have lots of nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds has oil in it, so that's why it balances Vata dosha. And of course, when it comes to food, we talk about sattvic food. Ayurveda also recommends sattvic food, and that means vegetarian food. But when it comes to physical health, sometimes Vata needs more grounding. So if you are a non-vegetarian, is the Vata dosha can have that, but it could be more like long cooked broth, like meat broth. That is especially after childbirth, or if you have lost weight, if you feel really ungrounded, you can go for that also, like fish and meat, but it should be long cooked, so that it becomes easy to digest. And one of the most important thing to balance the Vata dosha is you need to manage your time smartly by proper planning and prioritizing, because Vata has a tendency to do everything in the last minute. First of all, they don't like routines, and then they don't like to plan because they hate routine. So Vata dosha has to make sure that they have good planning and prioritizing also. So that's one most important thing. You can also practice yoga. It can become difficult for a Vata person if they are imbalanced to do meditation. So you can focus on pranayama first, because that's the moment. So moment of breath. So you can do mindfulness and practice pranayama. And it could be any pranayama, but the first pranayama that you can go with is, we call it alternate nostril breathing. So that will be good. And you can avoid, listen to Yoga Nidra. So if you know this, you can find many Yoga Nidra CDs, or in the YouTube you can find many Yoga Nidra videos. So you listen to that. It will definitely help to calm down, because especially if you are suffering with Vata, anxiety, worry, nervousness, restlessness, Yoga Nidra will help you. And avoid constipation, because that is what we have to first correct, is your digestion in your stomach. So you can avoid constipation by taking Triphala. You can get it in powder form or capsules. So if it is a powder, you can take 1 teaspoon of Triphala powder with warm water. You can add 2 teaspoons of ghee to that, because ghee will lubricate your system, and that will help you. It's very grounding also. It's fat and Vata is dry. So add this ghee to the Triphala powder, and you can take it at bedtime. So these are few measures to balance your Vata dosha. Now we go into the next, that is Pitta. So it's a quick recap of the qualities of Pitta dosha. Remember, fire and water. Fire is light and hot. And fire, when mixed with water, it's like liquid, and it is sour, like all the acids. Digestive enzymes are sour, and it is a little moist or oily. It has a quality to spread, and it is pungent, that is spicy. So that is, it's by nature. Pungent means also you can have a pungent kind of smell. So that means if you have an imbalance, it can manifest in your urine or sweat as pungent quality or sour. So the signs of balanced Pitta. So when your dosha, Pitta dosha is balanced, you will have good digestion. So you think from the stomach first, you have good digestion and metabolism. Your skin will be very healthy, and also your body temperature will be very good. All your hormones functions very good, because Pitta governs your hormones. So your endocrine system is in perfect balance, and your skin is healthy and it glows. And also in your mind, the Pitta dosha will manifest as courage, so you can manage any challenges in life. And it also governs your intelligence. So if you have good intelligence, you can take good decisions in life. So that's the sign of balanced Pitta, and you can have good focus or concentration. So these are the few examples of balanced doshas, and also your vision, your eyes, your inner vision and your eyesight both will be really healthy. So what are the signs of Pitta imbalance? So this excess initial stage of Pitta imbalance is in the digestion. That's where you can first find if you have a balance or not. So Pitta will manifest as too much of acid. So you can have acid reflux, or you have burning sensation in the stomach. You will have excessive or intense hunger and thirst. No matter how much you eat, you're never satisfied. So you feel hungry immediately. So this kind of Agni is called Tikshnagni. So, so your fire gets really Tikshna or sharp. And if the imbalance is too much, you can also have Bhasmakagni. That means whatever you eat, it will turn into ash. So you immediately get hungry. So it's very unhealthy appetite. And then you can, this can also manifest as more inflammation in your digestive system. So you can have like autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease, or you can have ulcerative colitis. So like ulcers, you know, peptic ulcer, gastric ulcer. So, and so that's the inflammation. This can also, imbalances can move outward and it can manifest on your skin. So your skin can get irritated. You can have eczema, psoriasis, acne, rashes, and also your body temperature. You might experience very uncomfortable heat, intense heat in the body. So it will manifest as excessive sweating. You can have infection. So it's very common to have like urinary tract infection and inflammation. It can be your joints or your eyes, or you can have inflammatory skin disease, and also in your mind, this Pitta can manifest as anger. Excess Pitta, aggravated Pitta can manifest as anger, irritation, frustration, jealousy. You lose patience, so intolerance or impatient, and you can become critical and judgmental. So these are some of the Pitta imbalances. Women in particular can experience excessive bleeding during menstruation. And so most of the bleeding disorders are connected to Pitta dosha. And so they can have burning sensation, or also like hot flushes. Many women who enter into menopause can have hot flushes, and that's also because of excess of Pitta. And also you can have migraine. So migraine can be usually connected with your hormones, and so many women can experience migraine right from ovulation. So these are few of the Pitta imbalances. You can also become very argumentative and illogical, so and judgmental and critical, because Pitta is also very self-critical also. So they never content with themselves. So they have this sense of perfectionist quality. So they are very intense and driven, which is good, but sometimes that passion can burn them down. So that can be an imbalance. So we go into the cause of imbalance. So of course, first thought should be the food. And if you eat very fiery food, the food that has a lot of fire element, that could be spicy, oily, deep fried food, that can be one of the cause of Pitta imbalance. Sour food, too sour, like fermented food. So especially in India, it could be the pickles. So if you eat too much of pickles, or alcohol and smoking, so these can cause a Pitta imbalance. And it can be also like exposure to sun. If the weather is too hot, your Pitta will be completely out of balance. And also, Yeah, anger. See, too much of anger, or it could be the result of a pitta imbalance, or it can cause a pitta imbalance. And also, as I said before, the tendency for being a perfectionist. So that what pitta has a tendency, or they are overly result oriented. So they already think about the results. So they lose the focus on the journey because they are stressed about the results, and they want to be perfect, and that can drive pitta to an imbalance, which is no fun, because for Pitta person, every activity becomes like a project and they have to excel in that. So they are too hard on themselves. And that tendency or attitude of the mind often result in imbalance, because they don't enjoy life. They are too serious about life, and which is not so good in the long run. So how to balance the Pitta dosha? You need to, of course, avoid the cause. And the cause is spicy, oily, sour food, and fermented food. It could be wine or alcohol, especially the red wine, and the smoking. So these are the food that you have to keep in mind. And if possible, you have to keep yourself cool. Avoid strong sun or heat, and also cooling food. It could be just cold milk, and also like bitter, astringent, and sweet food. They are cooling. It has water element in it. It has cooling energy. So you can eat lots of greens, like salads and cucumbers and carrots, and raw vegetables. And also you can go for some sweet food. Again, it could be sweet fruits, so you can have a lot of sweet cooling fruits, and also grains like rice and oats. They are also cooling. Coconut milk and oils like coconut oil. See, too much oily food is not good for pitta, so you can go for ghee, or it could be, it's cooling. Ghee is very good for pitta. And also olive oil and coconut oil is a good oil to use. And coconut milk is cooling. Coconut water is really cooling. In India, you have enough, plenty of that, so you can definitely drink that. And also you have to learn to develop more understanding towards yourself and others, because pitta is like fire, and fire is always focused. It's like a laser. They only see the or they are only focused on their destination or goal, so they can tend to lack understanding about themselves or other people. So that is what they have to develop, and they have to learn to accept and surrender, because I said their perfectionist quality, they don't want to settle for less. So here they have to learn to accept, and failures can be very bothering for a pitta person, but you have to learn to accept and let go or surrender. They have this inflated sense of ego is there. So you have to learn to surrender your ego also. So you can practice forgiveness, because pitta has a tendency to hold on to grudges for really long time. So that is the mantra for pitta person, is to practice acceptance and forgiveness. So again, a recap on the qualities of the next dosha, that is kapha. So kapha is water and earth element, and water is moist, and earth is heavy. So the attributes of kapha dosha is it's heavy, slow, soft, oily, unctuous, immobile, and sweet. So immobile is also, it's like they are very static in nature. So now let's see how these qualities can manifest as balance and imbalance. Now, signs of balanced kapha. So kapha dosha, when it is in balance, you have good digestion, you have good bowel movement, and you also have to remember kapha doesn't have that much of imbalance, because as I said, they support our immune system. So when your kapha is balanced, you have good immunity, you have good well-built tissues in the body, like your bones or your muscles and your blood tissue. So they are very well formed, and your joints are well lubricated. You're very stable, and both physically and mentally, and very grounded, and you have the best endurance, both physical and mental. Your reproductive strength is very good, and mentally also you're very calm and content. So those are some of the signs of balanced kapha. You have good reserve energy. We call it in Sanskrit ojas. So kapha people are very ojasvi. And so let's see the imbalances. So signs of kapha imbalance. So if kapha dosha accumulates, so you have to first see how in the initial stage or the early signs of imbalance, you will see it in your digestion, in your digestive system, and the site of kapha is stomach. So you will experience that you are not so hungry, you have poor appetite, you feel nausea, you feel excessive salivation in the mouth, you don't feel hungry enough, and also you can so this is first early signs in the stomach that you feel. You might feel like vomiting, and then these imbalances can move and to the lungs, for example, because the site of kapha is lungs also. So you can experience cold, cough, allergies, asthma, and congestion. You can easily feel like blocked sinus, and so you have sinus congestion, and you can have allergic asthma also. You can have water retention. Now you see, because kapha is water, so you can accumulate a lot of water in you. You can put on weight, and also you can have problems with excess sleep. So no matter how much you sleep, you can wake up very tired and feeling heavy. So the feeling of heaviness and fullness and laziness, sluggishness, because your circulation gets really sluggish, your lymphatic circulation that becomes very poor, and you can experience lethargy and greed, attachment, sorrow, and depression. So these are some of the imbalances of kapha. Now, what are the causes of imbalance? See, of course, first comes the food. If you indulge in excess eating or overeating without feeling hungry, because kapha has this tendency, they have of comfort eating. So if they are emotionally disturbed, they find relief or comfort in the food. So engaging into excess eating or excess of sweet and heavy food, everything that is white in color. So you can think about wheat or rice, or it could be milk products and egg, and heavy could be the meat, and of course sugar. So all these can increase your kapha dosha, and also oversleep. So if you sleep a lot, because the kapha is static in nature, they don't like to move. So lack of exercise and becoming like a couch potato. So you become very lazy. And why? Because kapha is they have this inherent quality of stability, but that stability can cause more static quality, like you don't like to move, you become more immobile, and they are also inherently very content people. So that can also become an imbalance, because if you're too content, you lose motivation and stimulation, and that can lead to laziness and weight gain. So these are the cause of imbalance. Now, how to restore balance? So again, avoid the cause. So all heavy, cold, frozen food and sweet food you should avoid. You can avoid milk products and oily food, and you can also do periodic fasting. So that will help you for a kapha person, because they have very slow digestion and their appetite is very poor. So in Ayurveda we call it manda agni. Manda agni means agni is manda, it is slow. So that's why you need to first feel hunger before you eat food. So, so that actually will make you realize, are you really hungry, or is it just the tendency to eat for the mind, to ground your emotions. So you can do periodic fasting. You have to bring some variation in your life, because kapha tend to do the same thing all the time. They can eat the same food all year long, and they don't have much of fun in life, not much variation. So they have to bring some variation and spice to life. They should engage into physical activity, dynamic exercise. They need that, and it can increase your circulation. In Ayurveda, we call that kind of massage is called udvartana. So you can see that udvartana in most of the Ayurveda centers. You have these kind of massages that improves your lymphatic circulation and helps you with your metabolism. So try to do that massage. And yeah, so these are some of the tips to balance your kapha dosha. Kapha should not engage into heavy food like nuts and seeds. So most of the spices are good for a kapha dosha. So they should eat some light and warm and spicy food. So that was how to restore balance. And so that comes to the end of our session. And we have question and session here around. So I hope this talk was useful, and let's go. I'm going to stop sharing of screen, and I'll try to answer now the questions.